In this lesson, we will learn about another effect called the fill effect that's great for changing the color of solid shapes with no color variations. Okay, so I want to use an effect to change the colors of my snowflakes just so they feel a little bit more dynamic. So I'm going to use the effect called the fill effect, and I can find that just over here in my effects and presets panel by typing in fill. Now, if you don't have the effects and presets panel open, you can always find that right there under window and just choosing effects and presets, as well as finding the effect itself from the effect menu. Now this is a generated effect, so you just go to effect, generate, and then choose fill. So I'm going to go ahead now and select the layers that I want to apply my effect to. We'll toggle that up. And then I'm just going to grab the fill effect and drag that on. Now I selected all those layers so I could toggle those up, but I'm going to have to apply the effect to each layer individually. So I'll just apply it to these first 3 layers for now, and then we'll apply it to more of those layers in a moment. Now you can see that automatically the color of this effect defaults to red. So if I want to choose a different effect, I'm going to go into that color picker or use the eyedropper tool. And in my case, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool because I want to pick colors from my swatches. So I'm going to come back over there to project and choose the swatches.psd and just pull that onto my timeline. And I'm just going to go down through these different swatches. Now I'm not going to choose this white color because that is not going to give me much contrast with any background I would use. So we'll just skip that one and use these 4 colors that you see there. So I'm going to choose my first snowflake that I applied the effect to, then come up there to the effect controls panel, grab my eyedropper tool, and we'll choose that teal color for it. So you can see that the color changed there, and because this is just a solid layer, it's only being applied to that black color. So it's a really quick way to just change the color of that effect without having to go in and really change lots of dials and different properties and values. Okay, so I'm just going through and changing the color of all these effects individually. Now the red that I have here is just a little bit different from that red that it's defaulting to, so you still want to make sure that you go in there and change that default red that it's sitting at, just so that it still is matching the rest of our layers. Okay, so now I'm going to do it for these 2, and we'll change this one to that brown color. And now we're back to our teal. So I'll just continue going down through the lineup there and add the fill effect to the rest of my remaining layers. And looks like this layer right here, layer number 5, didn't get a fill effect, so I'll go ahead and drop that on this one as well. Okay, so starting there at layer 5, I'm going to choose that yellow color. Then I'll just keep drilling down through the colors. Now we already have chosen this one as a teal, so I'll skip down to layer number 8 and we'll choose the yellow color, and then we'll do layer 2, choose our red color, and layer 1 we'll choose that brown color again. So now I'm going to turn off my swatches. And if you feel like maybe some of these are a little bit too close together, you want to change it up, you can always come in there and change those colors later on. But remember that they continue to move as they're animated down through the composition. So the same composition really isn't going to be the same all the way throughout this, simply because we have so much rotation happening with our null and with those layers individually. So now I want to add a background to this composition that we've created. So instead of just using the default black background, I'm going to come in to my project panel, and we can use the same background that we created for our main layer simply by grabbing that pre-composition. So let's go up there, find the background composition. And I'm just going to grab that and drop that at the bottom of all my layers. So you see that I'm dropping that at the bottom just so that it's not covering up any of these layers in its stacking order. Okay, so if I'm going to use this somewhere in my main composition later, this is going to be a little bit too similar of a color to the background I already have. So I want to change that with another color correction that's very similar to fill, that's called tint. So you can come up there to Effects and Presets and type in tint. And that's going to give you that color correction right there. So go ahead and grab that and drop that on the background. Now this isn't going to change the color of the main background that we have in our main composition. You can see that that still has that nice warm color to it. And that's simply because we're applying this effect to the outside of the pre-comp, not on the inside to any of the layers there. So what I want to do is remap the black color that I have there to this brown color, and then I'm going to remap the white to the yellow color. Now this is probably a little bit too yellow, so I can go into the yellow and make it a little bit lighter. And we may even want to move down more towards the dark colors here. So it's still going to be in the yellow family, but it's going to be a much more shaded yellow. And we see that we still are getting that vignette from the black color being pretty dark. We can even darken that up just a little bit so we get those edges a little more dark. But we still have a nice contrast between all of the light and dark snowflakes that are there in the composition. So if I use this now against my other composition's background, it's not going to look strange or like it's some sort of a strange mistake that the background is being duplicated. So you can see that this tint effect is really useful whenever you have some kind of a object or background like this that has two colors in it, and you need to be able to independently control the light and dark values. But the fill effect was perfect for our snowflakes, which only had a black value. So that's pretty interesting and very helpful. So in this lesson, we learned a few quick methods for changing our colors, and there are other ways to change color as well, but this is definitely faster than going into the original source files and changing the colors there. And this method is a lot more straightforward than some of the other color correction effects in After Effects.